Hello.
Jeepers. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to another episode of Paranoid. My name is Jeeper Creeper John.
And I'm Spooky Lukey.
And this episode we are, I guess, Luke, go ahead. You tell the folks what we're going to be talking about this episode.
Yeah, we decided we should get into some ghost stories. We feel that's probably worth doing within the first 10 episodes.
Make you earn that spooky title.
That's exactly right. I think after this episode, I will have to get this tattooed on my back or something. Spooky,
Sir
Lukey.
Spooky, yeah.
Or everybody's gonna stop hanging out with me after this. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
But all right.
I like Jeeper Creeper John though. That's a good nickname right there.
That's a new one, yeah. I think Stevie came up with that on the fly.
Yeah, that's good.
So, sorry I said your name. Our producer tonight is Stevie. Ramey's out. So hopefully we'll have some pop-ins with
guest producer.
One of our favorite producers.
Mm-hmm. This guy knows his way around pushing some buttons for sure.
Oh, he sure does.
So I thought maybe we could talk about some like more obscure ghost tales that we've come up with. And give a little backstory to a couple of those, sprinkle in some of our like favorite pop culture-y ghost things and tidbits, and then maybe end up in a place where we're talking about some personal ghostly tales or encounters.
All right.
And I feel like every single person I've ever talked to has had like some sort of, I don't know if I want to say outright ghost, but like definitely like a paranormal
supernatural
encounter. Perfect. Supernatural. That's a great word for it.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way too? Like just among your friends and family and...
Yeah, actually. I have personally had a couple things happen. More when I was younger, I guess. Or if it's happened lately, I haven't noticed as much, but some weird stuff happens once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, anyone you talk to usually has some sort of thing that's happened to them or their family or someone they know. And it's always something kind of gnarly and, like unbelievable or,
For sure. Yeah. No, I don't have these soulless eyes for a reason. I've got a crazy tale we might get into at the
end. Oh my God. Yeah, my story's not that crazy, but it's
I don't want to hype it too much. I've mentioned it like
you sound like you like a ghost passed through you and took over your body and made you jump off a building or something like that.
Yeah. He made me do a couple bong rips and then I did a flip off a bridge into a river. I swear it was a ghost.
That's what you told the cops, though. Yeah.
yeah. I was possessed.
It was a ghost. I swear.
That was a spirit leaving me. I swear.
It was Tony. But right on.
But yeah, it does seem like that. It seems like there's a lot of people that have just wild affinity for this topic. Even if they don't admit it outright. So we're here to crack that egg.
Yeah,
ghostly
All
egg.
Right. Go ahead and rip that sweet track. Go ahead, Luke.
That's such a good song.
It is a good song. So before we start, I just want to say Luke made some really comprehensive lists of topics for this episode. And I'm scrolling through it, and it took me like 4 long scrolls to get from the bottom to the top. There's like so much information here. So I just want to make sure.
Considered Elder Scrolls. They're so long.
Yeah. Well, at this point,
medieval.
I am the Elder Scroller. So I just want to make sure we're starting at the right place. You wanted to start with the top 10 freaky deaky ghost tales, right?
Yes. This is Spooky Lukey's top 10 freaky deaky ghost tales.
All right.
You might need a little jazzy kind of hi-hat sounding song for that little bumper too. That could be kind of sick. I'm all about the bumpers, dude. I like the bumpers.
Or even some background music. We might need some like low, like light jazz. just like low beat,
Yeah,
downbeat,
yeah.
very mellow, low in the back.
Spinning the platters that
We'll
matter.
yeah, we'll get that, ironed out later.
Yeah, yeah.
But go ahead, you can start it off and
Should I kick off? Kick it
kick it
off?
off. Kick it off for us. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna say these are also like in like no particular order.
Okay.
If you know me from my time on the sibling podcast, The Dad Batch, I am a self-admitted scaredy cat of so many things. But these were ghost stories that I thought like were a little bit. I mean, dude,
Like
if they were turned into
like
a
on the
movie,
lighter side. Yeah. Oh,
yes, yeah, or lighter side, or just kind of like weird encounters, or not just outright like this ghost came through a wall and tore a dude's face off. These are a little bit just stranger, I guess.
more. Yeah. More
Um,
elaborate.
that would be a cool story, though, I guess.
Hand through a wall.
Yeah. Okay, so the first one. What do you know about the Phantom of the Hammersmith ghost murder?
Absolutely nothing.
1804 London.
Yeah. Nothing. I've never heard of this before. Please enlighten us.
Okay, so this is jolly old London in 1804.
Okay.
Everybody's walking around looking like Mary Poppins and the dude that cleans the
Mhm.
chimneys. There's multiple ghost sightings that are happening during this time. And I think this in general is like a really superstitious period in history. Um, like you're coming off of some wild stuff in that period.
People are still witches, right? Like
Yeah.
a witch.
Yeah.
Burn them.
Dude, yeah, straight up. So I think like paranoia levels are high. This is kind of a crazy one because this gets into a little bit of like what we also both enjoy, which is vigilante justice. And so
You were gonna
there
say
was
dressing up because we do that too.
I would like to think this guy at least had a different top hat on when he was hunting the ghost. So maybe he did dress it up just a little bit, as
I was talking
as
about the ghost.
oh, the ghost. Okay. Oh, well,
See,
see, so this
go
is
ahead and read the story. Go ahead.
yeah, so this is crazy because actually we'll circle back to that.
Yeah.
So there was so much panic at this time from the idea that there was a ghost haunting I don't actually know what neighborhood it was in London. London's pretty big, but maybe back then it was a little bit more shrunk down. General consensus, people are freaked out. There's consistent ghost sightings in a specific area. So much so, I got a rock. Our producer just threw up the best ghost image that you could possibly throw up.
The best, realistic ghost we've ever seen.
Yep, scariest one. That actually might be scarier if you saw that versus something that was like really.
If I saw a ghost version of that, I'd be very upset.
Yeah, I'd kind of lose it.
Like see through and stuff. Yeah.
So maybe they're seeing like this dude walking around in a sheet or floating around, like multiple sightings, paranoia in the public town. So much so that a guy decides to take up the mantle of local vigilante ghost hunter to try to go find the threat, like the specter that's like haunting everybody. The twist to the story is that he, keeps like running into encounters, like just missed the ghost, all over town. Like this is happening and he hasn't like quite tracked him down. He finally corners him in a town square. And I mean, I guess back then you would think maybe I'll shoot the ghost, shoots the ghost, blows him away with a musket, or that little like ball that you stick down in the long like tube.
Yeah.
You've got that pipe cleaner. Blows away the ghost. Ghost turns out to be a prankster. Homie's throwing pranks. And it was actually like a local bricklayer in the town that was like going out at night and just scaring people.
But just imagine how gullible you have to be to see someone in like sheets and be like, damn, that's a fucking ghost. I need to shoot it. And thinking logically, I need to shoot it.
Yeah. Like
instead of being like, oh, that looks like a dude in my bed sheets, or like in anyone's bed sheets, like
linens and things.
Right. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
and
like
and
that's
no
how
no
it was.
lighting, no smoke machines. Like this guy's going zero, ground
Straight
zero tech.
practical, dude. Straight practical. Yeah.
He might be an OG cosplayer on the
He
Mount
might be
Rushmore of
a
like
theater
OG
kid.
cosplayers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you say theater
Shakes-
kid?
Theater kid, Shakespeare
Yeah,
level. Yeah. I mean,
definitely.
but that's what I'm saying. Like we are also costumers, and we work on things on our that we talk about on our brother station, and a brother pod, and that's crazy, you know, like getting mistaken for something and
Oh,
getting
dude,
killed for it.
that's
That's
insane. I mean,
wild.
like, it's it seems so.
But back then, that's what I'm saying. Like, is that how things were
There's no
handled?
reference. So if somebody's like deciding to take up the mantle of like town prankster, also, and which is that's a pretty
I guess
good
they
side
would have
job.
never imagined they'd be shot, though. I guess, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna spook some people out. They're gonna get scared, and that'll be that.
Yeah, get a laugh
Not
out
like
of it.
not vigilante man's gonna come out and cap me.
This vigilante like hunted for this ghost for weeks. Like it wasn't just he went out like once or twice and then was like, boom, oh, we're all we're all in the
He
same place
was
getting mead together, and meat pies. Like he was like searching for this ghost. Like,
actively, yeah,
yeah, and like there's record through this town, well, town London, that
this
there
little
was
town.
consistent sightings at certain times, and so like this guy was actually like out searching legit for a ghost. And I don't know what's crazier is like the guy that like takes up that like Frank Castle Punisher mantle as like being like I'm going out to like
The
avenge the town for this
1800s
ghost.
Punisher, dude. Yeah, yeah. This is like
What
a
an
Punisher
adventure.
noir
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's pretty dope. I like
in
that.
London.
Yeah.
Frank,
And
Frank. I don't know. Not what's a synonym for
Castle
castle?
actually works pretty good
But
still.
but what's like an English synonym for castle? Like fortress or
Yeah.
something.
Maybe like
Like
Frank Camelot.
Francois Fortress or something. I don't know.
That's
Yeah,
good. Yeah, yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Oh,
just
like Frank Stockade or something like that.
yeah,
Like a
like
cool old timey word.
yeah, something.
Um,
Hit me up, Marvel. We'll talk about that.
yeah, let's get that one on the wax.
Yeah,
You write it, I'll
but
draw it.
yeah,
Um,
there you go.
yeah, I thought that was kind of a crazy story though. I mean, it's a little I guess softer and fair in terms of like there's not an outright like real life ghost happenstance here, but I also think a
Sure.
lot of this list is up for debate or theory or speculation on how you're gonna
Well,
crush these out.
because like you said, there were other sightings. There might have been some other random stuff going on other than one prankster, or there might have been several pranksters. It might have been organized. Who knows?
Yeah,
It might
that's
have been
true.
real. It might have
That's
been not. I don't know.
that's a great theory too. Yeah, I mean,
You
could have
know,
been more than one person
could
going
have
out
been
and
four
being a
homies
goof.
around town. Like, all right, you go to the square. I'll go to the marketplace. You go to the pub. Whatever. You know.
Dude, as we know growing up, pranks are just the best thing when you got a group of friends.
You know. Hey,
Like
yeah. A group
if
of
you're
four
if you're
kids
doing
are
pranks on
gonna.
your own, you're kind of like just the Joker or something. You
You're
just
a little bit of a psycho, yeah. But
yeah,
if it's with friends, it's normal, yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Totally.
Oh man. Um so that brings us to do you want to have me just kind of run these down and then we just kind of talk about 'em? Do you want to
We
break
can
one
do that.
down?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, the one that kind of
Which one
because
stuck out?
I read through these. The one that stuck out to me a little bit was the second story, the one that you were just about to mention. Just because the story I'm going to tell later is sort of similar to this.
Oh
So
man.
I guess I'll
Oh
explain it
my
a little bit. I don't know much about this personally. I just happened to read this on the list and it kind of called to me.
yeah.
This one's called "The Elevator Ghosts of Panguitch, Utah."
Language? Yeah.
Panguitch, Utah Hospital, modern
Yeah.
day. So I guess this happened somewhat recently.
Yeah.
But apparently, a nurse claimed to see a man walk through the ER doors, stare at her, and disappear. Um, and it said that caught on security footage that showed the doors opening with no one there,
Oh.
which is a huge trip. Because I don't know if you've. I haven't seen anything like that personally, where you see some. Actually, I sort of have, but well, yeah, I don't want to get into my thing yet, but
Yeah.
that's a trip. You see that a lot. It's a trope you see a lot on the media, like in movies and
Yeah.
stuff, where people see each other and then you look in the camera and no one's really there or whatever. But that's super crazy that this happened in real life, and it was caught on camera.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess the patient later described, or a patient described, the same man visiting her bedside the night before,
Oh,
despite him being dead. So he had passed away, I guess, in the hospital, but he was
damn.
visiting this person at night, which is, oh my god. And it says here, the hospital denies the footage exists, but the nurses still talk about quote unquote him.
That's the realest line of like that story to me. And some of these are going to be like kind of quick little digests, like
Yeah.
I mean some of them aren't just like ongoing like haunts and stuff, but this I think this like speaks to one of, like you said, like the trope of seeing security footage, something's there, not there. I mean, there's reference for it because somewhere along the line in history or like throughout history, like that's that's kind of a, in fiction, there's always some truth to some of like how people tell stories like that are based in, somewhat reality in a fictional tale. And, or like a good joke's always got some base level of truth
A
to
little
it.
bit of truth in it. Yep. Yep.
And I feel like that is a really like unnerving thing that exists because there's a lot of reference for it in the real world. And that's
Right.
it's a really like and my story too, and my story like yeah, we'll get into it later, but has
Yeah.
has a
Yeah. Yeah. We
similar
don't have to
kind
tell our
of
stories yet.
thing
Yeah.
about it, so um I think that's crazy too because that's a more recent one. It was in the last few years, so um
Oh, I was a kid when my story happened.
yeah. Yeah,
I was
mine
like
too.
7 or 8, probably around there.
Oh man, I can't
Uh,
wait
yeah,
to
it's
getting
it's kind of
stories.
spooky. It's pretty spooky.
Shit. Uh, okay.
But moving on,
This
moving on. Okay.
this one's more recent too, and I thought this one was weird, and it also just has a little tie into our world in the digital age, and also just ordering shit online. Um, the haunted eBay Dubuque box, Dubuque,
Dybbuk, Dybbuk.
Dybbuk, Dubuque. Okay, so I've heard this in like um different iterations. I've heard similar stories in different iterations, and this also like has a lingering thought to me, which I'll get into after I tell the tale here. But a wine cabinet, um, allegedly containing a Jewish demon, which is I guess a debuk. Maybe that's the I don't know if it's
Dybbuk,
religious
Dybbuk,
term
Dybbuk.
or debuk.
I've heard that before. Dybbuk,
Hmm.
Dybbuk, Dybbuk,
Debuk.
Dybbuk. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
we'll
know
have
where the
we'll have to
accent
go
is.
to the
We'll have to
listeners
ask
for that one if we're
a
totally off
Jewish
base.
homie. Yeah.
Um, so this cabinet containing this demon was sold on eBay. The listing was forthright that it was haunted, possessed. Came with series of illnesses for whoever owned it, nightmarish events. Basically, they put it on Front Street that, yo, if you're warped enough and you want to like check out this demon homie and like see if you can conjure him up, like go ahead, but we're taking this thing out of our possession and giving it to somebody else.
Uncool, dude. Yeah, uncool.
Each time this thing has passed around different hands, the one that's recorded is the one that's an actual like eBay sale, which was back in 2003. That was the last recorded time this thing had like passed hands. But in the listing, it was mentioned that this thing has gone to hand in different generations, because obviously people have it at certain points. It's passed through a family, maybe an heirloom, gets sold at a garage sale, yada yada. But every time, each new owner reported terrifying events. I thought, and this is going to tie into something we're going to talk about later, but hair falling out, lights exploding, and shadow people. Shadow people. Shadow people. I love the sound of that. That's so scary to me.
Yeah, terrifying.
And I guess this last story inspired the 2012 movie The Possession. Are you familiar with that movie?
I haven't seen that, but it sounds like something I would watch.
Yeah.
I'm into those crazy, scary movies.
Yeah. I like hearing you guys talk about cool, scary shit, and then I'm like, tell me more.
yeah. Well, we
Tell me
talked
more,
about
but I don't wanna watch it.
Alien, and you were like, "Oh no."
Oh God, dude,
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, that's like a horror movie, but it's like aliens, you know. It's not like a nun, like,
dude,
you know.
Scary Nun. I mean, boy, but if you put
I'll
up
take
like
the alien before the nun any day.
that's a good
Scary dead nun over.
That's a
over
good coin
aliens.
flip. Scary
bro.
Nun. Hang with Scary Nun, like haunted ghost Scary Nun, or try to fight off the alien.
No, yeah. Imagine that the movie. You know the movie The Nun. I know you haven't watched it.
Yeah,
You,
for sure.
You know what it is. Yeah,
Mhm.
that thing is terrifying.
That is very terrifying.
The character that I'd rather go up against a xenomorph than the nun. Because what are you gonna do to the nun? It's a entity. It's a ghost.
I guess you couldn't punch her.
You can't
or
punch through the nun. Right?
Or like try to
you can't
cut a
punch through
ghost
the
in half or
either.
whatever.
Yeah. You're not shooting through a nun ghost.
But I guess at least what if I'm picking up what you're putting down is that you could at least potentially like do like the Benji the Hunted move and like run toward a cliff and then like stop really quick and then he runs off the cliff past you and then dies, or you could possibly hurt the xenomorph versus try to hurt a ghost. Go for it. Nun. See what happens.
Right.
Yeah.
And they still can do weird ghost stuff too. So
I like that logic. I guess if I have any chance, even if it's just 1% or like 0.5% of a chance versus the xenomorph, I guess I would take that. Visually though, I think I'm more scared of the xenomorph, to be completely honest.
I mean, visually too, yeah, because you could try if it was just a lady dressed as a nun and then a xenomorph, you'd be like, oh hell no, I'll punch the lady
for sure. I might pull out my musket and try to like blow away.
Yeah,
but the ghost lady.
But if it's like actually the nun from the movie compared to the actual xenomorph, I'd be like, oh man,
oh my god,
give me the plasma rifle.
Yeah, definitely.
Throw me on the ship.
Yeah,
I don't want to be in a haunted house with a lady like that.
So let me ask you this about this concept, like a haunted item. So for me, this was on my list as well because like, and I've thought about this. So this story was newer to me, but I've heard like this kind of iteration of a story of like a haunted item, lands in somebody's possession and then they, take on that dark energy.
Yeah.
I think about that because like I've collected vintage toys in my day. And I've got stuff that who knows where it honestly came from. And like time has passed where I've thought about that. I've been like, is that weird? Like, is that weird to think that this might have some weird energy if somebody like, I don't know, had a horrible accident in the room where like this Han Solo on card was or something.
Oh no.
I don't know.
I never thought about something like that before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone's hand-me-down might be like a terribly cursed item or something.
Yeah. Like I mean, that's why the title is what it is, because I get pretty paranoid and shit. But it's not something I've dwelled on, and I got some vintage toys in my possession, so I didn't think about it too hard, I guess. But that is something though I think is kind of a scary concept of like, you pick up this like weird, thing for your, house, like a little cabinet for your house or something, or a mirror to put on your wall that, is possessed or something. So
I don't like that. Damn.
Spooky.
Yeah.
Think about those secondhand purchases now, people. Every time you're dipping in on a vintage store, think about that. My haunted starter jacket.
That slightly worn T-shirt or whatever.
Yeah,
A vintage
exactly.
T-shirt. Yeah.
Yeah. Never knew who owned it.
Yeah, you never know.
God, that's terrifying, actually.
Yeah, I don't like that. Yeah, this topic is so touchy because it's like, you're like, is it in the room with me now? I don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah. Is it
disrespect.
making us talk about this?
Or is it upset that I said something? Yeah, I don't want to.
Oh man, I know. Oh, don't get me scared of that,
Yeah,
dude.
dude,
That's a
we're gonna be
scary thought.
spooked out by the end of this. Yeah.
So I got all my lights on.
Yeah, mine's all dark, dude. What am I doing? It's spooky in here. Anyway.
Oh shit.
Uh,
This is getting scary.
you want to do the next few?
Yeah. So here's here's a couple
'Cause, yeah,
crazy ones. The ghost who solved her own murder. Now this is
this
like
is
another
cool.
super old one. Teresa Furtado in 1897 was the one part of the uncover of the story. In West Virginia, a woman named Elva Zona Shue was found dead. Her ghost reportedly had, appeared to her mother and described how her husband had killed her. The mother convinced the authorities to exhume the body, and her neck they found was broken. Um, the husband was convicted of murder, and it's the only known case in United States history where ghost testimony was accepted in court as like part of the way to convict this guy.
See, this would be a good movie,
This is a oh
detective
yeah
thriller. Like it could show like scene,
procedural drama kind
flashbacks.
of stuff.
Yeah, it just no. Yeah, I think like a Memento style movie, but
Oh
about
yeah
this topic, I think it
yeah
would be a hit. That's wild, man.
yeah because this one
Um,
doesn't outright have like the scares or the jump scares. It's more of like this like wow really strange sad. I mean obviously a sad horrible crime, but the concept that like this daughter came back to
somehow
tell her
spoke
like
to the
how
mom.
it happened, and then she was able to like get this guy convicted. um
That's insane.
that's super wild.
And to have the body exhumed, because after you have a funeral, it's a big deal to dig a body back up,
i
and
would I would imagine, yeah.
yeah, it's got to be a bit, a
Jeez,
huge burden, yeah. But to
totally.
find evidence of a broken neck, how would they not find,
Yeah, the
during an
coroner,
autopsy
like,
or something?
yeah, or
Yeah,
the person in the morgue or whoever does the preparing of the body. Yeah, that is weird. That
maybe the husband worked at the morgue. Dun
ooh,
dun dun. No, I
plot
don't know. Yeah,
thickens. Or
that's
they
we're
were
just
wearing
starting
those
our.
like weird old timey frilly dresses that just went up over the neck, and then you just didn't see the
I
broken
just
neck,
couldn't see it.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It wasn't
yeah.
visible. We're
Powdered
inserting our
wigs
own
and
lore.
frilly collars.
Oof. Yeah,
Um,
I guess in 1897. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
dude.
I don't know
So
what the time was.
this one is the coolest,
Is this a
funniest,
toilet? Is this a
scariest.
toilet?
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to drop the toilet one on us?
No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay,
Go.
okay. Because I was hyped
You're
on this one, and
go
it's
for it.
got a reference to it on a nice little movie that I'll mention, and you'll go, fuck yeah, that's amazing.
Okay.
Okay, so the toilet ghost of Japan, Hanako-san, a little girl ghost who haunts school bathrooms, specifically stall number 3. Oh,
Oh,
that is a terrifying photo. Producer,
gnarly.
can you find us the photo of the movie Ghoulies and drop that on the screen?
How do you
Because
spell that? Ghoulies.
Ghoulies,
Oh,
Goulies.
like ghouls. Okay,
Yeah,
ghoulies.
ghouls. Um,
Ghoulies.
this little girl ghost haunts school bathrooms, specifically stall number 3. You summon her, classic 80s and 90s kid
Yep.
just
Yep.
trope, dude, which I
Some Bloody
love.
Mary action.
Yeah, dude. This one I feel like could be more of like a Goosebumps episode or something like that. Like this isn't maybe an outright movie. It doesn't got enough meat, but like this could be a pretty sweet little Goosebumps story, man. Yeah,
Oh,
dude, there he is.
ghoulies.
Oh
No
god,
way.
for our audio listeners, you got to go watch this episode
What is
cuz
this, bro?
dude, Ghoulies. So I did see that movie as a kid, and it did scare me. But I remember the movie, the VHS of this had this toilet ghost sticking out of a toilet. Yeah,
Toilet
and
ghost.
there's a scary scene to that too.
That's the ghost.
That's the ghost. Yeah, that's the ghost in Ghoulies.
Oh
Um,
man.
you summon this little girl ghost in Japan by knocking on the door 3 times and asking, "Are you there, Hanako-san?" If she answers yes, you're getting pulled into the toilet, dude.
No, bro. No
And you're
way.
going to hell via toilet. So,
Nah,
early
bro.
watery toilet grave.
Imagine that.
Fascinating.
You're just trying to
Just have a
you're
goof with
just
your
trying to
homies.
just no, you're just trying to just drop a deuce in the toilet and you accidentally knock 3 times and somehow Hanako-san pops up and says, "Come, you're coming with me."
No, but you have to ask if she's there. So
Well, what if
this
someone you knock and you're like,
oh,
"Who's there? Is anyone there?" And then Hanako sounds like, "Yeah, yo, let's
or
go."
you like your buddy's in there taking a shit and then you knock on the door and ask and then he's
One,
like,
two, three.
"No!" Just get
No.
sucked down to hell or whatever.
Oh,
Maybe you do
so
that to
like
like
your
the bully or
enemy.
something,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
school bully.
Oh, Hanako-san.
Damn, that's crazy. Some versions of this story say she was killed during World War II air raids, and
Ooh.
others say that it could have been like more of a domestic thing, like a killing, like a murder or something like that. So
Oof.
no real concrete backstory there. It sounds like, but I love that because it does sound like it's probably the Japanese version of what do we got? Bloody Mary, uh,
Right, right.
Candyman, right?
Candyman. Oh,
Yeah.
Candyman.
Candyman's dope. That's actually a real dude. We could
That's a
talk some
movie.
Candyman.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we could. We'll have to do an ep on some like cool movie
On some
picks.
90s mirror
Yeah,
horror
yeah,
as
yeah.
kids repeating
For
names
sure.
in the mirror until we freak ourselves out. Bloody Mary was one of the worst ones
Yeah,
that I remember at least.
for sure.
Candyman
And then
too, but yeah.
and then staring into a mirror like while you're on mushrooms. Also, that also happens.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's another experience.
I've never done that. Never done that.
No, yeah,
Uh,
no one has.
the you get sucked into the mirror.
Yeah.
This one's another one from dude, a lot of people in this era were seeing ghosts, man. This is another one in the 1800s out of Tennessee called the
Mm.
Bell Witch. A violent spirit tormented the Bell family, speaking in voices, slapping some of the kids, and even poisoning the dad.
What?
Um, Andrew Jackson, who wasn't president at the time, reportedly visited and fled the house, saying, I'd rather
No.
fight the British again than face the Bell Witch." And that's like an on record quote of future, at that time, President Andrew Jackson saying that he was scared out of the house. He went there to like investigate and kind of like, I guess it was enough of a local legend. So he stopped by. And this spirit still gets blamed for strange happenings that happen in the town of Adams, Tennessee. So kind of a cool like urban legend thing that has some neat history to it too, which is pretty cool.
So it's just a family that's cursed. The Bell family
Just
has
sounds
a
like
Bell witch.
yeah, sounds like it's like a straight up, family matters.
Generational curse.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't say like
Oof.
who that spirit is like in that family tree, but yeah, you would
But
imagine if it's haunting one family, right?
it just bugs that family, yeah. But I mean, if that family still lives in Adams, or I guess like descendants or whatever, I guess it could still be going on.
Yeah,
1800s. That's a long time.
yeah,
That's
that's
a lot of
crazy,
witch shenanigans
dude.
for the Bell family.
That's tough. That's a tough one.
The Bell family. That sucks, dude.
Oh man,
Pissed off a
oh,
witch sometime.
can't
Yeah.
can't piss off a witch, dude. You don't want to
Nope.
do
Nope.
that.
Nope.
You don't want any of that
Oh.
witch smoke. What do you got?
Well, number 7 on the list here is called The Greenbrier Ghost Who Loved Drama,
Yeah.
which is kind of weird. So Zona Shu and it says, "Yup, her again."
Yeah.
It's such a legend. She deserves another bullet. Okay, so
This is
apparently,
yeah.
what I'm reading
This
this
is
for the
still
first
part of
time.
that
So
same story. Yeah, sorry, I
this is
got
the
it out
same
of
story.
order a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah,
got
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
she told
But
her mother from the grave, not just who did it, but what she wore and how her neck cracked. Okay. So this is a
man,
throwback to the other story. To
yeah. Yeah,
the
sorry. That was a little out of order with my
got
notes,
it.
my
Okay,
bullets.
ghostly
Um
reenactments are local tourist. Okay, wow.
that would be
So
weird.
yeah,
Can you imagine being like a ghost reenactment troupe? Like a group that
it
gets together and kind of
they theater act the killing, and
yeah. I
then
mean that's cool.
the
Like it's yeah, definitely like a trip though. Like it would be a weird thing to be
like in
into
front of the
to
house or
perform.
something.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Or
kind
maybe
of
like a
during a
local
tour.
theater or something like that too. Maybe they
That's how I imagined it. Yeah, like a theater.
yeah.
Oof. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I thought that was a separate thing, but it's part
Yeah.
of that other story about the ghost who solved her own murder.
Yeah. Dude,
Zona's
she
shoe.
was staying busy over on the other side
She
there.
was busy. Yeah, she didn't want to cross over. She was playing Murder She Wrote for a little bit.
Dude, that's so
All
sick.
right, go ahead. Sorry.
No, no. What do you want to hit us with this one? And then I
Number
will
8.
yeah.
All right. So number 8, the Spectre of the SS Watertown. This is from 1924. Apparently, 2 men died cleaning an oil tank and were buried at sea.
Yeah.
The next day, their
Oh
ghostly
my
faces
god.
appeared in the ocean waves. Oh my god! So
I was
there's an
hoping I
image
never
of,
saw that photo again. I saw
yeah.
that when I
This
was looking
oh
up
my
these
god!
stories.
So the image here says arrows show and identified as those seamen Courtney and Meehan, apparently riding waves just off the SS Watertown. So is that their dead bodies, or is that like just visuals
That's
of like their specters or
I
something?
think that's the Spectre form.
Wow. So the next day, the ghostly faces appeared in the ocean. There's the photo of it for the people that are looking at the YouTube.
Yeah.
There's
And it
literal photo of 2 faces poking out in the
coming up
ocean.
out of the water.
Yeah, yeah, and you see the side of the ship, I guess, from the side of where the photo's
Oh
been taken.
god.
And it says here, they were staring at the crew, which is super creepy.
Yeah.
And
I
it says also, go ahead. What's that?
Oh, I was just gonna say like water, sea, ocean, and mixing with ghosts. You know, like stories.
Yeah. The ocean's
That's
already creepy enough as it is, so
yes, yes.
um, that's terrifying. Sorry, you froze for a second. My internet's being
My
a little
dude,
weird.
maybe it's the
I don't know if it was you
ghosts.
or me. It might have been you. It
Yeah,
might have been those 2 homies. My
it's
bad,
those guys.
homies. My
If I
bad,
can
Courtney
if
and
I
me. And
can de-scarify this photo a little bit for everybody, the one on the left, he almost looks like the the
that looks
skull
worse.
alien in the cantina in Star Wars. That
Yeah,
really like obscure skull alien. And then the guy on the right looks like Uncle Fester from the Addams Family. So
right.
I was able to deprogram myself after seeing that photo another time to not be as
I
scared
just
because
I just see 2 ghostly faces, 2
dude, the one
bald
on the
men.
right's really scary.
Yeah, that's gnarly, dude. It
Yeah.
says here that the captain snapped the photo. He's the one who took that photo that we
Oh,
just saw. And it says the eerie image was published in newspapers and is still debated today because obviously that's up for debate. It's up for speculation. It could be whatever you want to see,
yeah.
but
That's
it looks like
that's
2 faces to me. So
oh oh
sorry, Courtney and me, and R.I.P.
yeah. Yep. Um, Ghost in the Machine, the South End Poltergeist. This we're taking us back to the UK in the
You love
1950s.
the UK stories, dude.
Yeah, dude. I think they're kind of weird.
Yeah, that's where all the spooky stuff was happening. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's some old energy on that continent, so they're definitely seeing they're seeing things.
Hmm.
Um, a radio repair shop in the 1950s was haunted by a ghost that left its messages in electrical circuits. The radios would play the messages with names, dates, or just comments or insults with no power, unplugged machines.
What?
Investigators couldn't find any explanation and believed that the ghost was an dude. This is so crazy. It was an electrical engineer who had died nearby the repair shop. So his
Whoa.
soul was like trapped within the machines within that
Was
repair shop.
programming circuits to say curse words and
He's just like, fuck, get me out
he's
of
like,
here.
dickhead, yeah.
Yeah.
break this transistor radio.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's a scary thought too, because okay, so I think
That
what's
sounds like a
scary.
Twilight Zone episode, dude.
Yeah,
That would
that's
be a
more like
Twilight Zone episode. Being
that's
stuck in like a radio or something, and the only way you can like communicate is like literally saying names or
oh
dates
my
or
goodness.
idiot, you know, get it
Yeah.
right or
Yeah.
something.
Dude, oh my god, that's so crazy.
Right?
That's actually that would be a great
Dude.
Twilight Zone episode. That's a good
Yeah.
call. And 1950s, like it would fit within that period.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Dude, we should be writing some stuff.
Go back in time and do this episode.
Yeah, let's write this one down. So I think what's crazy about that concept too is like, not only do we just think about a ghost like haunting us, like where we're at, you know, like if there's a ghost in my room, it's haunting me, but like maybe it's not necessarily haunting us, but trying to be like, help, like I'm trapped between
Let me
limbo,
out.
like
right.
Yeah, maybe he's not in heaven, maybe he's not in hell, or whatever
like
you believe.
Some Casper the Friendly Ghost vibes.
Beetlejuice limbo world. He's like running from sandworms every, couple hundred feet and shit, and just being like, get me out of here, and that's a scary thought too, that somebody could be trapped, I mean, sure, they passed away, so obviously there's nothing you could probably do to necessarily help them.
But there's a scare factor there, because it's like same with like the alien thing. Like if one of these things tried to communicate with you in this type of way, where they're like, help me, or like I'm not, I'm not attacking you. I'm just I need your attention. You would freak out regardless, because you're just,
dude.
It's this supernatural insane thing, whatever, and you would probably either run or try to attack it or whatever, and not listen to what it's trying to communicate because it doesn't speak your language or whatever. I don't know. Trippy stuff.
Yeah, that's a crazy one to get the head around. That's such a crazy thought, but fascinating, super fascinating. So this one rounds out the list, and I thought we would end with some lighter fare here. The hilarious haunting of Boots, the ghost dog. And when I heard ghost dog, I was hyped, because I think that's like a really cheeky way to lighten up the list a little bit, because I'm already like, oh my god, there's so much dark, scary thoughts here with just this whole episode. Savannah, Georgia, an innkeeper claimed that her dog would bark and play fetch with an invisible ghost dog. Guests began seeing ghost dogs tugging at blanket. Dude,
is that a movie?
Producer, that's
Forrest
a
Whitaker?
fantastic movie, and the soundtrack is by the RZA. So producer just put up on the screen a poster for Forrest Whitaker in a movie called Ghost Dog. I was literally getting ready to reference this and make the joke, so I was thinking it was too scary.
Wait, is this the same story?
No, this story. Boy, dude, we gotta talk Ghost Dog. Forrest Whitaker, Urban Samurai, soundtrack by the RZA. That's all I gotta say.
What?
It's so good. It's such a good movie. But this ghost dog, guests began seeing ghost seeing ghost dogs tugging at blankets or hearing phantom tail wags.
There he is. Ghost dog.
One guest's slippers at the inn where this lady owned, like bed and breakfast essentially. So I'm picturing, some eggs Benny. I'm picturing some slippers going missing and people looking around, and then go, oh, Eggs Benny.
It's Ghost Dog again. Yeah.
I'd even eat haunted Eggs Benny. They're so good.
I'm down with that.
A little smoked salmon on top. One guest's slippers went missing, and they were found neatly placed by the dog grave in the garden on this woman's property that owned the inn. So, there's just like the buddy dog that was real. Maybe he grabbed the slips, took them out there, and poured one out for his homie that's in the dirt. But Also could have been a ghost dog.
Left
Who
in there,
knows?
dude. Ghost dog.
Ghost dog.
Boots.
Boots. R.I.P. Boots. Pour one out for Boots.
Love me a
That's my
ghost dog.
spooky list. Ghost,
That
spooky
was
Luke's
good.
ghosty, freaky deaky
That was a
tales.
good spooky list. Yeah. Um, I think we should lighten that load a bit and maybe talk about some ghosts in the media, like movies and
Oh,
just maybe some favorites that come to mind. It doesn't have to be anything formal. I know there's a list as well, but some of them are kind of gnarly. Let me see. Actually, yeah. I mean, I'm just gonna sort of mention stuff off the list just to talk about it a little bit. Like the Amityville Horror is kind of a well-known story. Not well-known, but the name.
yeah.
Excuse me. You've heard the name, I'm sure, and there's like a bunch of movies associated with this story. Um, and I think the Amityville Horror and those movies are sort of associated with the Nun stuff. I think there's all like
Oh, okay.
everything's kind of all tied together. There's like a I don't know how many there are, but there's a series of movies, and they're all different, but with the same actors, and they all kind of go out through the years and sort of play out these things, and I think that has to do with it. So the Amityville Horror. So I guess this one's from 1979 though. So I know
Yeah.
they've been remade recently, and those are even for me they're scarier because they're like modern and suspenseful and whatever. But I guess this one's based off a true story, obviously.
Damn.
Um,
That's
and it
crazy.
was a huge it was a huge box office success, and launching pad for other horror genre popular culture movies that came out
So,
after.
so Amityville, the original, is the Nun like a new take on it, or do you know if it's
No,
like a
so
sequel or a
I
continuation
think
of the
it's
story
yeah, I think it's like a spin-off.
or a retelling or something like that?
No, because there was the Amityville Horror, and then I think there was like the second one, or like the Haunting, or this and that. I could be mixing franchises, but I know that there's several um, movies that are tied to that franchise, and I do think the Nun. Let me see. It's the most famous case of the Warrens. Okay, so the Warrens were the family, I believe,
Okay.
that were um, involved in that whole thing, and these two like private investigators that were like paranormal investigators were the ones that investigated, I guess, these hauntings and
Yeah.
ended up getting haunted themselves. And yeah, the couple who investigated, uh,
Ed and Lorraine
Ed
Warren.
and Lorraine Warren. Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
So
Huh.
I've seen these movies, but I remember the newer ones. I've seen the newer ones, but it's not something I've seen recently, so I don't remember everything off the top of my head. But
Do
it
you
is
have any?
scary.
Yeah.
Huh.
Do you have any connection to like any movies from the 70s and 80s that like I feel like I saw The Exorcist when I was a kid, but it just seemed
Exorcist.
like it's definitely scary, but I feel like it was just filmed so old that I didn't really, when you're a teenager and you're watching it with your buddies and stuff, you're kind of like, yeah, it's fake. I mean, I'm sure I was still freaked out, but some of that
Yeah,
era
but
though is so before us that it's sometimes pacing and stuff like that. I guess, you could say like,
well,
might
pacing
slow it down or
aside,
affect.
yeah, but pacing aside, like the effects and yeah, just the effects of the time and the technology back then was not as believable, and you had to suspend reality, suspend disbelief
Yeah,
more so than now, where they're using CGI and
sure.
and everything looks just so real and crazy and either disgusting or gory or whatever it is,
Yeah,
to the point where it's like, oh my god, like it's almost unwatchable,
totally.
compared to the older stuff, at least,
Yeah, yeah, that
because
maybe relied more on I think too, like sometimes when you don't show everything and your mind is left to wander and race and kind
well,
of build the thought or build the visual yourself in your head leaves you a little bit more scared sometimes too.
right, when you don't see the thing, like
Yeah,
it's sometimes it's scarier,
yeah,
like because I was thinking like horror movies, early 2000s, or even, I mean, ghost related movies
yeah,
from the 2000s. I had like three that came to mind. We mentioned it in the backstage earlier, like 13 Ghosts, for example. That
Oh yeah,
wasn't that wasn't super scary in the sense where you're. I mean, it was a bit suspenseful, but it was more like it was more fantasy, I think, because each of the ghosts were pretty like outrageously elaborate in their own way,
yeah,
and it wasn't. It didn't seem like something was haunting. It was more like scary looking ghosts, you know. Um, but yeah, 13 Ghosts, yeah. That, and I think it's like the person running through the house, and they're evading 13 specific ghosts that kind of died in their own specific scary ways, and
yeah.
they physically embody that death or something, you know. So
Oh
that
man,
was freaking its time, and that was like an early 2000s movie. It wasn't super scary, but it was like one of those movies that came out in that era.
yeah.
But past that, there were some that were like found footage movies that
Oh,
like I won't talk about this one now, but I'll just mention it just because it's
set the table.
the pinnacle. Yeah, the Blair Witch Project, for
Yeah,
example, was one of the craziest ones. But and that wasn't necessarily a ghost story. I guess that was more like a haunting, or maybe it was a ghost story, whatever. But I won't talk
yeah,
about it now. We'll save that for later.
yeah.
But like a Paranormal Activity. I don't know if you remember that from
Dude,
2007.
only by just being like, nope, I'm not gonna watch that. I know that will scare me.
The
But I
the
love the concept. Love the
Oh wait,
concept of
so
found
you haven't
footage.
watched it? You haven't
No,
watched it?
dude, I probably
Probably bits and
started it
pieces.
at a homie's house and then was just like, yeah,
Nope.
for sure. Dude, should I go get
I
beers
gotta
and
go.
shit?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or just make an
Someone's
excuse to like
calling
not
me.
be in the room watching it.
Yeah.
But
So
I,
that
I
movie
do
is
remember seeing part of
terrifying.
it. Yeah.
Well, it's so disturbingly terrifying,
Mm,
and it's like they don't even do anything in the movie, but it's more creepy,
yeah.
and like just whatever.
So
Yeah.
remind me, Paranormal Activity. It's the one where it's like cameras in the house, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
like the
yeah. So it's
guy's
like
like sleeping in
security
his bed.
cameras.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I have seen. I've probably
Oh
seen
my
like
god.
5 or 10 minutes of this and was just like, yeah, I'm gonna go
Yeah.
get the beers, guys. I think we need more beer.
Yeah, dude. Like
It
it'll
just
fast forward and it'll show, like, for example, like the wife will just like stand up randomly and like go and
yeah.
stand over the husband, and she'll stand there for like 3 hours. It'll show like fast forwarded, and it's like and it's been 3 hours and she's just standing still, like
Oh
breathing over. And then
God.
she'll just go back into bed, and then they'll wake up in the morning like, oh, good morning, whatever, like,
Oh,
and go about their day or something. And all weird stuff happens, stuff falls and stuff gets knocked out, like they get knocked out, just this and that would be the worst
yes.
thing that could happen to you in a ghost scenario, other than someone physically coming into your house and attacking you. If there was a ghost doing this,
Oh
possessing your spouse, or
yeah. Your
making
partner.
things
Yeah.
happen. Oh, there it is.
Oh
God,
my
that's
God.
terrifying. You didn't need to show that. That's just not
Okay,
not
so
necessary.
this would be interesting to learn. Now that we're talking about this movie, I feel like this was the first like commercial that I saw on TV for a movie where they would show the audience reaction. Like it was so scary, they were
Yeah.
doing cutaways to show you like, hey, this movie is gonna make you jump, and they would like cut away to the audience being like, oh shit, I'm throwing popcorn, and it was like a wide kind of view of the audience. I wonder if that was like the first movie to incorporate that into kind of pitching it to the consumer as far as like
Maybe. Sounds like a
that
new marketing strategy,
and
fucking
this was like early
turn of the
2000s
century.
probably,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wonder, yeah,
Sounds
these
like a
these
guerrilla marketing tactic, like
these
show
guys
show
could
show people excited, show people jumping.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You
I
know.
wonder if these were the first guys to do that, cuz I feel like a lot of movies in the last 20 years since that movie was probably out, I feel like I've seen that a few times. I wonder if this was like the first one to plant the
The
flag on that kind of,
pioneer.
yeah, that
Maybe,
kind of
yeah,
marketing
maybe.
tactic.
I've never thought about that, but it's possible.
Yeah. That
Definitely.
that that is yeah, that is like a terrifying um movie concept to me. Like just
Scenario. Yeah.
yeah, that is no bueno. What else like what other kind of movies like jump out to you from, you're a little bit more versed in
Um
like scary stuff and I guess like ghosty stuff.
yeah. I mean, I'll watch stuff one time and just to watch it, like, but I don't have a huge scary movie repertoire. I mean, the stuff that comes to mind obviously is like stuff like Ghostbusters, and
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
quite scary, but it's ghost related, and
Yeah.
a little spooky, I guess. Not totally serious.
Do you remember? And then this
Trying to
one's just
think.
nail on the head in terms of like the title. And weird enough, like I actually like really liked this movie when I was younger. Is the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze and
Yeah,
Whoopi Goldberg and Demi Moore. Oh, not so much because like I mean it was like a pretty weird psychological thriller, and I that might have been one of those early ones that I saw that was kind of that genre where it was not straight up horror. But do you remember um the bad dude in that movie that gets like Patrick Swayze killed, and I can't remember if he's like skeezing
it,
on
I
Demi,
think he's
who's
trying
like
to
his
pick up on the
lady.
chick. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. He like kills him, and then he's trying to move in on his gal or something like that.
And the
He
ghost is
when
there, but he can't do anything physically. He has to like
Yes,
tell, like, don't fall for it, baby, or something. You know, like
yeah, and that was all
I don't remember.
like, yeah, that was all like a neat romantic concept, and it had this like kind of suspenseful thing built to it. But the effect, talking about like old movie effects and like having to kind of, well, for sure it was practical back then, and it would be
Yeah,
interesting to learn how they did this technique. But there's a shot where like this guy at the end of the movie, the guy ends up getting his, and these phantoms, yeah, the shadow people
shadow
end up
people.
like pulling him like down under the ground. But like there's a scene where he's running down the street, I feel like, and it's it's nighttime, of course, like this, and you see these shadows just running after him, almost like we recently saw a really neat shadow effect in the Thunderbolts movie, like the way they were
Ooh,
casting these shadows, and it
disappearing.
reminded me of this scene in Ghost. um and I feel like they had red eyes too, but this is just going off of memory. But cool movie, but really neat effect, to kind of portray ghosts and kind of like an otherworldly element.
Yeah, that's kind of freaky.
Yeah. Um,
Huh. All right.
yeah,
Well, I mean,
it's kind of wild.
that was a good list. I mean, and there's a few more that when I say them, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, duh. Like stuff like Beetlejuice, Casper, you know, Ghost related, obviously. Also very light, not
Yeah,
not not as serious as something like Ghost. Um, that was more drama. Like these are fun and light comedies, whatever. Um,
I got a good one.
Ghostbusters,
I got a
yeah,
good one. Do you remember
yeah.
Field of Dreams? Like this was another one from,
Ooh,
we were
the '90s.
really, yeah, really young, of course, but like, and dude, and I don't know why, but baseball movies are always like some of the best
Angels in
movies.
the Outfield.
Angels in the Out. Oh my God, Angels in the Outfield. There's so many good baseball movies, and
Yeah,
Field of
dude.
Dreams, like that was another one where it was like a feel good story. It was dramatic. There were like parts of it that felt like really grown up as a kid, like dealing with like death and family and stuff. Um, and like really kind of sobering at times because of that. But like such a great concept. Super like lighthearted and endearing ultimately. It didn't have like a scary element to it, but it did just have this like really neat story. That told the story about this like uh I'd have to like go back and watch this, because what I remember was like they bought
Yeah.
land that an old baseball field was on, and they were visited by one of the guys on the team, or the dad passed away and he was part of that team. And then they kept coming back, and he was contacting his son to tell him like, if you build us this field, we're gonna come back and enjoy like our final
If you
moment
build it,
together.
they will come. Right.
Yeah, that was the famous line. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, that one I saw when I was young, but I remember that was like a really cool, powerful movie, because it was a ghost story, but it wasn't scary, and I thought that was a neat way to portray the genre and not be outright like trying to like scare the pants off you.
Without being spooky. Right.
Yeah,
Being more
yeah,
wholesome and
yeah,
understanding.
yeah. Kind of gave some like neat thought about just afterlife and what that
Perspective.
means in family. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Oh. Well, I mean, looks like we just hit about the hour mark, so I wanted to maybe round off the
yeah,
show with maybe some personal spooky stories that we might
yeah.
have gone through. I don't know if you want to go first. or if you want to let me go
Do,
first,
do,
but
do you,
it's up to you.
yeah. You want to take it
So,
away?
so yours sounds like really, really crazy. So I'll opt to go first, just because I
I
know mine's gonna be a little. It's not gonna be a crazy elaborate story. It's gonna be kind of short, but it's a
yeah.
twofer. There's a two-part
Oh
to it.
snap. Okay.
So I'll go ahead. I'll go first. Okay.
Okay.
So when I was, let me think. I think yeah, about 7 or 8, maybe 6, 7 or 8, around there. My family was moving into a new apartment. We lived in Glendale. We moved from one apartment to another apartment, just close by, like a block away or something. Um, and I remember we got to the complex, because there's a complex, there's a gate, you walk in, whatever. And I guess the manager, whoever the person was that was going to show us, was there. They greeted us. Hey, okay, come on, follow me, whatever. And he kind of pointed. Okay, there's the unit. It was like, there's the apartment, and I was a kid, and my sister was with me too. I have a twin sister, so we were both there. But I walked up first, essentially, to the door. So when the guy opened the door, I was the first person in to the unit, and it was empty. It was a vacant unit. It was like a 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom apartment, whatever.
Mhm.
So while my mom and dad are talking to this guy, I walk in, and my sister's just whatever, straggling, probably holding my mom's hand, whatever. But I walk in, and it's empty. It's an empty unit, and the you walk in, the kitchen's on the left, it's empty. You pass that, the living room's empty, and then you get to a hallway, and the hallway kind of leads into a bathroom, straight ahead into a bathroom, and then on either side there's the master bedroom and then the other bedroom, and the master has its own bathroom. And as I walked to the hallway, I was facing the bathroom, like the I guess like the second bathroom, and the door was open, and the mirror, like the sink and the mirror, were facing me.
Mhm.
But when I looked in the mirror, I didn't see my reflection. I saw a
Oh.
shadowy figure, like a tall, adult-sized figure,
Oh
and
my
and
god.
but I didn't know at the time. I didn't understand, or I didn't realize that might have been a ghost or something. So I looked back at the door where my mom was, and
Yeah.
the manager, whatever, and I was like, "Oh, hey, mom, someone's already in here." Like, I
Oh.
told them. I remember telling them, like, "Hey, someone's already in here. Like, someone's
Oh
already
my
here."
god.
And when I looked back again, the figure was gone, and it was me in the reflection.
Oh.
And it was a silhouette. It was like a void style silhouette. It was a black silhouette figure, no features, zero features, didn't have
Sure.
anything. It was literally just a fuzzy
Yeah.
humanoid size thing. Okay, so that's the first part.
Oh
So
man.
that was the first
Oh.
part. So when I looked back, it was gone, and then they were like, "Huh?" And I was like, "Oh, I guess, I don't know. I don't remember what happened after that.
Did your sister
During
see it at all too,
No,
or was she out of the room
no,
too? Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was by myself. I was by
Yeah.
myself. Okay, so the second part of that
Oh.
story is, in that same apartment at night. One night, my mom told me this. So this didn't happen to me. My mom told me this.
Yeah.
She woke up one night just because she got a really weird feeling, whatever,
Yeah.
and she noticed, or she saw, a shadowy figure basically walk out of her closet, her closet that was in her bedroom, that she was laying in the bed. She looked and saw this figure walk out of her closet and slowly walk down the hallway
Oh.
towards me and my sister's bedroom. So she got up, right, and the thing,
Oh.
whatever, walked into our bedroom, and she got up and sprang up and, like, oh my god, what the hell, what is this, and got up
Wha-
to look, and saw the figure went right into our closet and then disappeared.
Oh, oh my god.
and she
What?
told us this years later, and that's why I was like, oh my god, well, I saw the same figure when we were moving in the first
Yeah,
day,
and you
whatever.
didn't want to mention it. You
Well,
just
I never mentioned it until she mentioned that she saw that thing, and I was like,
yeah,
no
yeah.
way. So we kind of, like,
Oh,
whatever, corroborated our weird ghost stories, that well, it's hard to tell
in the
because
same
what you saw.
place.
Same exact place,
Oh
and
man.
whatever. Yeah. So that's my spooky ghost story.
Dude, that's freaky. That's two people. That's like two
Two people
witnesses
seeing
can
the same thing.
corroborate. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
At different times, not brought up by way of
yeah.
telling
It's
ghost
not like I
stories
said
together. It was like
something and she
happenstance.
saw it.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh
It's something
man.
we talked about as adults, like later, like as I was already older. I was an adult. I was married, and I was like, oh, by the way, this happened. She's like, oh, Like, by the way, this
Did
happened. I was like, oh my god.
did like your like hair stand on your arms? Like, did you guys both be like, "Oh my
Yeah, bro.
god,
Well, because
really?"
that memory for me, like the memory I had of walking and seeing the figure, it wasn't scary until I was older because I was
Yeah,
like, oh my god, like that wasn't because I didn't realize what it was at the time. I was like, oh, someone's here. And
yeah.
then I look, no one's here. I was like, oh, like weird. Like, did I? Okay, whatever. And you're a kid, and just keep going. But I remembered it because it was so weird to me. I was like, how is there a tall person here in the bathroom with the
Oh,
lights off?
yeah, and not one of them. Like it
Yeah,
wasn't
well,
your
because I
parent
was
or
the first person I was the first person through the door, so there
Yeah.
was no one in the apartment. Like the guy unlocked the door and let us in, and I was the first. I ran in and looked in the mirror, and I was like, "What? Someone's here!" And looked again. I'm like, "What? No one's here. I don't know."
Oh
Trippy,
my god, that's
trippy,
trippy.
trippy.
That
Yeah.
is trippy. That's freaky. Oh man.
But
Okay, so
yeah, go for it.
you okay, so mine's freaky. I don't know if mine's like a haunted house thing. I think it's more of a haunted house thing.
Okay.
But I'm gonna in part of it, I wasn't even born. But
Oh,
I've experienced things in the house that I know have to be connected to what my parents saw or dealt with or whatever. Okay. And you guys got to be friends with me after I tell this. 'Cause I swear I'm not like
oh
haunted or cursed
God.
or
Yeah,
anything.
you can't stay at the Airbnb anymore. Just off
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm kicked out of the SDCC BBB. Okay. So before I was born, my parents got married. They bought a house, and it was like an older house. It had like a huge front porch. I mean, maybe like Victorian style, but like just kind of like old style craftsman kind of house too, I guess. But like really big, cool, like wraparound porch. Um, this was like the late 70s. This was a few years before I was born. And they had people over. They had like you know, whatever entails of like a late 70s, early 80s dinner party, cocaine and fondue. I don't know
Oh
exactly like what
shit.
was on their menu, but like they're younger. They're in their 20s. They got a bunch of
Sure.
friends over. They're doing like a big dinner party thing. Um,
Yeah.
my uncle, my mom, and my future godfather are all there. And my mom and my uncle have told me this was fucked up and it for sure happened. And my dad refuses to talk about this. And my dad is like 8 years in the Navy, flew planes. Like he's a tough dude. I've seen him do awesome, cool dad stuff. Like but he refuses to talk about this, and he'll just like straight up deny it. And my mom and my uncle are like, it fucking happened. So I don't
What?
know, man.
Okay.
So they're having their dinner party. And again, this is just me going off of like telephone game, what my mom told me.
Sure.
Um, a knock at the door. The door that we had to this house was like a wood frame door, but it had a big glass panel. It was like mostly glass, basically. So they could see who was like coming up to the steps or whatever. My dad answers the door, and my mom described the guy that was at the door. Dude, and I'll just use a really recent reference, basically looking like Sacha Baron Cohen at the end of Ironheart. He had like dark clothing on, darker hair and a beard. So it's pretty silly that it's like so close to like what we
It's
just saw in
so
this TV
on
show.
the nose, yeah.
So on the
Go on.
nose. It's just a creepy dude. My mom was like, he looked like a creepy guy, and we've never seen him. My dad is like, hey, can I help you? The guy didn't answer him, and my dad's like, do you know somebody here at the party? Or like, and he's like, hey, does anybody know I want to come in or whatever? The guy doesn't say anything. My dad's are like, okay, you don't know anybody, like, you're cool. Puts his hand in front of the door frame, and the guy tries to like step past my dad. My dad's like, fuck you, dude, beat it. Doesn't push him or anything like that. It was just like, no, dude, you're not coming in. Closes the door, supposedly locks the door. That's my mom's memory, my uncle's memory, whatever. But supposedly locks the door, closes it, gets kind of like, that was weird or whatever, walks back to like where they were at, like down the part of the house to the dinner area or
Living
whatever,
room or whatever,
couches
yeah.
and living room, whatever. And the door fucking blows open, and it gets like ice cold in the room. And there's like 10 to 15 people, my mom said, that are there. Ice cold, super weird vibe to the room, and like weird, like just energy in the room. And then it just disappears. And like everybody was, dude, I'm talking about it. I'm getting like
I got
kind of
chills,
scared.
bro.
Yeah, I'm getting
I
like
got
chill. I'm
goosebumps.
actually getting like chilly from it.
What the hell?
The energy like leaves the room. Oh,
Is the
okay.
guy gone?
Another thing too, this was like mid springtime. This wasn't like a cold winter
It was
wind blew
warm.
open the
Okay.
door like old Christmas Carol style like movie. This was like mid spring, my mom said. This dude was dressed a little heavier weight with his coat and stuff than it even looked like it should be for like springtime.
Wait,
Um,
was he there when the door burst open?
no. So he was gone. And the door flew open like 2 to 5 minutes after he left, is the way my mom told me.
Oh,
Like that
so he bounced. Okay,
he
so
was
your dad
gone.
closed the door and he left.
He left. He didn't stay at the door. He was
What
gone
the
after that. He
fuck?
just like walked off the porch or whatever, walked down the street. Door blows open, super cold, weird energy, and then it felt like it just got sucked out of the room and the room went right back to the normal temperature. And like everybody that was at the party, including my uncle and my godfather, were like, it's been a
It's
nice
time to
night,
go
kind of time
home.
to go or whatever. And they were like halfway into the night or whatever. Like they were
Yeah.
all super creeped out and weirded out by it.
Mephisto came.
So yeah, straight up Mephisto came. So what's crazy about like this house? Like so this was the house like that I like ended up being like born in. My parents had it for a few years. Um I have a very vivid memory. My personal tale to this, my like very vivid memory, among a couple other things that happened that I'll tell after this, that happened after this memory. So I'm probably like 4 or 5. I would say 4 or 5 because I have such a vivid memory. Dude, it could even be like 3 to be completely honest, but like it's burned into my soul like how crazy I remember this. And you know, when you're a kid, there's some things that stand out that you're like, I'll remember this forever.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So we had a pretty creepy basement. It was an old house. It had a basement. I was too young to be on the stairs to the basement. They were like straight up those stairs that you can kind
Yeah,
of
like
see through them, the old wood style ones, and they're very steep, sharp.
very steep. Yeah, yeah.
We had a doorway to the basement in our kitchen, and that door was always closed. And I don't remember if there was a lock on it, but I know for sure like it was closed tight at all times. My brother wasn't born yet, but my sister is a few years older than me, and then I was probably 3 to 5 or whatever, and then plus being a toddler in that before that time, like that door was always shut. And I knew not to like go down there by myself, nor would I. It was super duper scary and dark or whatever.
Sure.
So I woke up in the middle of the night one night and I went to the kitchen and I was like too small to get a glass of water or anything like that. I don't know what I was doing, but I went to the kitchen and then I was drawn to the basement door that I should never open. And
No, dude.
I opened it
No.
and I was just staring just down the stairs,
Down.
like into the abyss of this basement. And you could only see like the first couple stairs kind of lit up
Yeah,
from
yeah,
like
yeah.
whatever
And then it gets
backlight
pitch
was
black, right?
happening.
Yeah.
But it's just this pitch black hole to oblivion. And I'm staring there. Dude, I can barely get this thought out. And I feel this just fucking like wave of like force like shoot up the stairs at me. And like, I was like, you know, and it could just be little kid ESP trippy feelings or whatever. But I remember feeling this just wave like of like energy, like flying up the stairs, like force of like wind or energy or whatever. And I was like, I screamed bloody murder and I like slammed the door and I ran and dude, I remember like my dad had like popped up in bed because he heard me scream or whatever. And I ran and I just fucking like dove head first, like onto his chest. And he's like, oh God, you know, because I hit him like super hard. And I was like,
Hard. Yeah.
there's something, you know, and he's like, dude, calm down. You're probably having a bad dream or whatever. Yada, 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 you know, and I was calmed down and I fell right asleep or whatever, probably. But in that same house, um, there was 2 different times that we came home and there was a fire in the fireplace that we for sure did not start. Like, dude, we didn't start like a fire in the morning and then came back from the
And then
aquarium or
leave.
whatever.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
leave and then like, oh cool, like our fire's done or whatever. Like there were 2 instances where there were fires in the fireplace. Came home and my parents, I remember, were like, "What?" I was young, but I was like watching them be like, what the fuck?
Trip out. Yeah.
Trip out on it. The other crazy thing that happened in this house was my mom was sitting at the dinner table, and she was doing like Christmas decoration stuff. She had like a couple bins out, and she was like putting those little hooks on the ornaments and shit. And we had this like big old chandelier thing that was like above the table. It was like an old house, and it had this weird, cool, like neat decorative like chandelier thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like it would never come out of the ceiling. And my mom's doing something, and she goes, okay, I gotta get a drink or whatever. She gets up from where she was sitting, and the chandelier just goes boom and just drops right where she was sitting. And like, I don't know if it would have like outright killed her. It wasn't like that high above the head, but dude, it would have like
It would have
wrecked
messed her
shop.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just
What?
came out of the ceiling like as if, dude,
Got
it
pulled or
was
something. Yeah.
yeah, it was so weird. And then the last thing to this house, when my parents
There's
finally
more? Oh
sold
my
this
God.
house, this was years after we sold this house. And I don't know who bought it and then sold it, but we went by it with my mom's girlfriend and her daughter. So it was my brother, myself, my mom's friend, and her daughter. And they were like, let's go look at our old house or whatever. And we went up to it, and it was empty. And so my mom was like, well, let's go up and look in the porch or whatever and go look in the window. My mom's friend's daughter was looking through that glass window and pushed on the
hell no.
door, and it opened. And we were like, oh, and my mom like pulled the door closed or whatever. It was an old door, so maybe it just didn't get locked or something like that. But she was like,
Sure.
oh shit, pulled the door closed. And we're kind of like, they were having a minute on the porch or whatever. As we were leaving and we were walking around the side of this house, around this big wide ass porch to get back to our car on the side of the street, my brother said that he looked back and saw a dude with a beard in one of the upper windows on the house. Dude.
Nope.
Don't like
Nope.
it. Do not
I don't like it right now. No.
Isn't that, dude, I've been like vibrating, like talking this whole time because
is that like the guy who built it maybe, or
I don't know.
the
Yeah,
spirit of?
I don't know. My dude, it shook my dad though, dude. Like my dad, like, it's pretty like I've never really seen him. You know, he's a dad. Dude. You don't see him get scared.
Sure.
You know, but like he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I asked him about it one time when I was in my like 20s or 30s, and I was like, Dad, what happened with that fucked up ghost you saw and shit? You know, just tried to like, you know, having a beer with him or something. I was trying to like get it out of him, and he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And my mom and my uncle have like definitely said that shit happened.
Like, yeah,
and then all the little things that we had, but. Dude.
No way, dude.
And then once we were out of that house, never ever again did we ever like have some other weird shit happen like that. So
damn, he was protecting.
It was a haunted house. He was protecting his old home.
Wow.
Oh my God, no! I have one more thing to tell about this house. That's so
oh my God.
Actually, last thing, scary basement, right? Okay. I knew I wasn't allowed to go down to that basement. My older sister, at one point while we were living there, brought home a pet rabbit, a big white rabbit with red eyes, and it lived in the basement in this giant like cage, and she took care of it, and it was all good or whatever. I went down there again when I was 3 to 5 with my mom while she was doing laundry. It was the only time I was like really, well, it was the only time I would even think about going down there.
Right.
I went up to the rabbit and put my hand in the cage, was trying to touch him or pet him or whatever. My mom had turned on for a second. He bit my fucking ring finger off from my knuckle when I was like 3 or 5 years old, dude. And they had to like get me to the hospital. Yes, completely off. And I had to get it out of my mom had to get out of the cage and get it sewn back on.
No way, dude.
Yeah. I feel like I blocked that one out, dude.
Bunny.
That one's like blocked out of my head.
Can you move it? Can you move it? The tendon?
I can, but it doesn't
doesn't work right.
Ring finger like doesn't bend right. Like it bends with like it's like bends with my pinky. Like anytime this finger moves, it moves like really in conjunction with this finger. Like I can do this all day long on the right. All this weird dexterity between those two fingers. This one is like locked up and just mirrors everything that I do with my pinky, which is I'm left-handed. I draw with right, everything left-handed.
Okay. Wow.
Bit off this from like that last knuckle, like right before the fingernail.
That's insane, dude.
Yeah, dude.
The whole fucking finger. The
So
whole piece. Wow.
that's my scary stories.
Gnarly, dude. That's too
Yeah.
much. All right. All right. All right. This has gone on long enough. Um, all right. Let's end this here. That
Dude, we're gonna
was
have to
really
watch some
spooky.
Smurfs or something after this to get
Dude,
out of
yeah,
the.
it's dark. I need to put something fun on before I go to bed. Gnarly. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for checking out Paranoid. Um, uh, wow. Okay. Like us on YouTube. Give us a follow on Instagram. If you like what we do, share our stuff. We'll post about this as soon as it comes out. You'll see it on the Instagram. You'll see it on the YouTube. And you'll see it on your favorite streaming services, podcast streaming services, Spotify, Apple, and all the other fun ones out there. Luke, where can people find you online?
Pair underscore annoyed is where you can find us, and then I also have a side, Left Coast Avenger, where I do some other fun stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Same with me. You can find us at @parent_annoyed, or you can also find me at Alpha Ignition on the socials. And yeah, thanks again for checking us out, and we'll see you again next time.
See you soon.
Peace.
Mwahaha.